What's going on, everybody? It's Cooper from the Backpins. Today, we are going to do a PBR Team Cheyenne preview. So, I'm sure most of you know the team series kicks off on Monday night in Cheyenne, Wyoming. It will be the first regular season event for this new team series. I'm excited about it. We've gone through the team previews. If you want to know more about those, go back and watch them. But things have also changed. There's definitely been some roster moves made right now before Cheyenne starts, and you can't blame them. You look at the Kansas City Outlaws, they went out and got Colten Fritzlan from the Arizona Ridge Riders practice squad. I'm not surprised. They were a team that has dealt with some injury issues, and Fritzlan being out there on the open market. Over last weekend, you also saw Matt Triplett get dropped by the Nashville Stampede. The Oklahoma Freedom scooped him up. Now there's a little discrepancy. I can't figure it out. Kastner was on the practice squad in the original article release with Triplett on the protected roster, but now it looks like Kastner's in their starting lineup, which means he is on their protected roster. So just being transparent about that, it's a little hard to kind of gauge some of this stuff. I don't think they've got their information wave kind of figured out yet. I think they're kind of learning as they go, and that's okay. Just be patient, and we'll do the best that we can over here to get you the best and most up-to-date, accurate info out there. But yeah, today we're going to talk all about the event in Cheyenne. It's going to be a really fun experience to see. I'm definitely excited. I've proclaimed my team for the regular season. We're rolling with the Oklahoma Freedom. I just think with their coaching, their front office, and the roster they constructed, they are going to be really tough to beat. But there's some really good teams in this deal. Don't kid yourself. There's about 5 teams, in my opinion, right now that could walk away as the winner, and I wouldn't be shocked. But before we get into the rest of this video, don't be afraid to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. It does nothing but help our channel grow, and it creates a cool environment for back and forth communication. Maybe you disagree with some of the things I think or some of the decisions the team has made. You can put it there in the comments, get some chat going back and forth. But we'll quit messing around. Let's grab them slides. Let's talk PBR team series in Cheyenne, Wyoming. To kick things off, we'll just mention that if you want to take a look at the protected and unprotected rosters, the PBR did release an article, I believe, on July 18th discussing that. Now, like I mentioned, I'm not sure if there's been changes since then because there has been some moves made since that article. But if you want to just get a feel for the protected versus unprotected roster, head on over to the PBR website and check out that article. It's all laid out there. To kick things off, let's just talk about my personal preseason power rankings first. This is a list that can change frequently based on moves, injuries, all sorts of things. This is just how I see it right now. Some of these decisions were really tough to make. When you look at Oklahoma and Carolina, I think they're both loaded with depth, and you have to pick one or the other. So my criteria for these power rankings is based on depth and talent. Until we see more in the arena from a coaching angle, it's going to be tough to really have an opinion on the coaching at this point in time. But that will play a factor in it as well, is the coaches and front office ability to put the correct riders on the correct bulls. That's going to play a factor in this deal as the season goes on. But as it sits right now, this is my preseason power rankings. At the top, you have the Oklahoma Freedom led by Cord McCoy. Brandon Bates is a general manager. These guys have been very public about what they're trying to do. They went ahead and got some veteran guys at the top, but surprised a lot of people, I feel like, with their last 2 picks and Briggs Matson and Caden Bunch. And they've went out and signed some more young guys, as well as some veteran guys on the free agent market. I just think these guys are poised for a deep run in the 2022 PBR team season. In second, the Carolina Cowboys, kind of the same deal as the Oklahoma Freedom. Both these teams used a supplemental pick to pick up PBR world champion Lockwood for the Freedom, Cooper Davis for the Carolina Cowboys. Same kind of deal. They're loaded with young talent as well as some veteran presence in that lineup, and they're just deep. You know, they can afford to get 1 or 2 guys hurt and not really miss too much, and not every team can say that, in my opinion. In third, the Nashville Stampede, Justin McBride is the head coach of this team. So he's going to want to win this deal. They've got a really good roster, in my opinion. They're dealing with some injuries right now, from what I can tell. But you look at their top 5, they're pretty stout. And they've got some young guys on their practice squad that I'm excited about and excited to see how they progress throughout this team season. In 4th, the Austin Gamblers. Their captain, undoubtedly, Jose Vitor Leme. They've got a pretty good squad around him. I definitely would not be surprised to see them in that title hunt come November. In 5th, the Missouri Thunder, led by Ross Coleman and Luke Snyder. I really like what these guys did in the draft. Their top 2 picks, Colten Fritzlan and Clayton Sellars, are guys that I really, really like, and I would not be disappointed in building around. They found some guys on the free agent market that look like they can be potential difference makers for this squad. And in my opinion, this is the last team as it sits right now that I can really see making a legitimate title push. I've got nothing against the bottom 3 teams, but right now, unless they do some things, make some trades, etc., it looks like they're going to have an uphill battle. In 6th, the Kansas City Outlaws, led by J.W. Hart. I can assure you that J.W. Hart's team is going to be full of grit, full of try. These guys are not going to quit. But when you look at them as a whole, the roster does not look nearly as good as those top 5 teams. A lot of young guys that they need to develop, see more of, in my opinion, mixed in with some veterans. Injuries have been an issue for this team. They signed Cole Melanson in free agency. He gets hurt in the preseason. He's out 3 to 5 months. That's a tough break. Can't do anything about it. Moving on to 7th place, the Arizona Ridge Riders. And it's kind of the same deal for these guys. These guys made a trade in the draft that allowed them to select Chase Doherty, and Chase Doherty is now hurt for a while. It sounds like he's going to be out for a decent amount of time. And they're missing their 2nd round pick, Mauricio Morea, to injury as well. So when you look at that, those are 2 guys you were relying on your starting lineup week in, week out. They're not going to be available. So that's why some of these rosters don't look quite as good. When you have guys that are hurt, you're going to have to go find somebody to replace them. And at the time they had to do that, a lot of these guys were already scooped up. So it's a tough break. I think the Arizona Ridge Riders did find some good guys on the free agent market in Alisson de Souza and Keyshawn Whitehorse. Those are guys that are ready to step up and compete in a starting lineup day one, in my opinion. And in the 8th spot, the Texas Rattlers, led by Cody Lambert. This team also made a trade in the draft, and I didn't like the trade that much for them. Got nothing against Cody Jesus and JRV, but I would rather have Dalen and Mason Taylor. That's just my personal opinion. They've got some guys, though, that are young and on the rise. You look at a Brady Fielder. He had a decent end to his 2022 individual season. You look at a guy like J.C. Mortensen. I really think this J.C. Mortensen could be a big-time X factor for the Texas Rattlers. They found some Brazilian guys on the free agent market that look like they could turn out. And they went and signed this Brady Randolph, who they are throwing to the Wolves right off the bat. I know they're excited about him. He did really well at the NFR Open last week. And that's what it sounds like, is he got signed from that. And they're very excited about him, but they are throwing him to the Wolves this week. And a lot of this power rankings really just comes back to what we know, what I've seen from guys already. We can project guys like Mortensen all we want, but until we see it, you can't count on that. So that's where my head's at with it. Let me know what you guys think. Maybe you disagree with my power rankings. Let us know in the comments below. But let's talk about the actual game schedule for this inaugural regular season event of this PBR Team Series season. Monday night, July 25th is when it kicks off, and your first gunners are going to be the Texas Rattlers taking on the Missouri Thunder, the Carolina Cowboys taking on the Nashville Stampede, the Oklahoma Freedom taking on the Kansas City Outlaws, and the Austin Gamblers taking on the Arizona Ridge Riders. Moving on to Tuesday, July 26th, the Arizona Ridge Riders take on the Carolina Cowboys. The Nashville Stampede take on the Missouri Thunder. The Texas Rattlers take on the Kansas City Outlaws. And the Austin Gamblers take on the Oklahoma Freedom. But let's take a closer look at these matchups here for the first night, Monday night. I'm not going to speak on the day 2 matchups because I haven't seen what the Bulls are going to be yet. But we know what guys are getting on what Bulls for the first night. So let's break them down. Let's give some predictions, some projections, all that stuff here. In game 1, the visiting Texas Rattlers are taking on the home Missouri Thunder. If you look at the individual lineups for the Rattlers, you've got JRV taking on Sugar Boom Boom. This is a bull he's been on before, and I expect JRV to ride him. It's not going to be super easy. This bull will turn back the other way at about 5 or 6 seconds. So JRV, it's not a day off, but I do expect him to ride this bull. Cody Jesus versus Big Wave. This is a bull that I think should fit Cody Jesus. If Cody's on his game, we could see a pretty decent score here. Should be into his hand with some gas. This sounds like a spur session for Cody Jesus. Brady Fielder on air shift. This bull is a bull we don't know much about. He hasn't had a lot of PBR outs. He was marked 44 twice at a challenger event in Maryland this year, so it's a tough matchup to call. Adnelio Almeida versus Concealed Carry should go to the left, and from what I've seen from Adnelio so far this year, this is a bull I expect him to ride, and he could be anywhere from 88 to 90. This could be a pretty good score. And this next matchup we already touched on, but the Texas Rattlers are throwing their newly signed Brady Randolph to the Wolves facing Moonlight Party. Look, this is a bull the last time we seen him at the PBR finals. He didn't have his best day. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but this is a rank bucking bull. He was in that bull of the year race pretty much all year last year. This is a big test for Brady Randolph. We're going to find out a lot about him in this matchup, in my opinion. But let's move on to the Missouri Thunder game 1 matchups. You have Andrew Alvidrez versus Lights Out. This bull was rode for 85 1/4 in his last PBR out, and I expect Andrew to get along with this bull, even though he's going to be away from his hand. Clayton Sellars versus American Gangster. Now, this bull can have a couple different trips, kind of depending on what delivery he's out of. In my opinion, he looks a little nicer to ride out of a left-hand delivery. And if he is out of a left, I definitely expect Sellars to ride this bull. And even if he is out of a right, I mean, this should just be a good fit for him and to kind of kickstart Clayton Sellars' team season. Colten Fritzlan versus Bubba G. This is a matchup where this bull's probably going to go away from Fritzlan's hand. Lefties really get along with this one, and they can be upper 80s to lower 90s on him on his better days. I'm not going to count Fritzlan out on this one. Fritzlan's talented enough to ride this bull. He's just going to have to stay fundamentally sound, being this bull's going to be away from his hand. Cody Teel versus Milk Mustache. This is a bull owned by Ty Ronaldo, former guest on the podcast. This bull's unridden in the PBR. He doesn't look super rider friendly. He has had a couple outs in the individual season in 2022. This is a handful for Cody Teel. He's been off for a little bit, but I'm never going to count this guy out. And Leandro Machado versus Shake and Bake. Pacheco was 88.5 on this bull back in April. This bull should go into his hand, I think, and I expect Machado to ride him. My projected game 1 winner is going to be the Missouri Thunder. I think they'll both probably ride 3 bulls, and I just think the guys on the Thunder might be a little flashier, have a little bit better matchups for the day. Although I do like a lot of the Rattlers matchups, to be honest. And I think the difference maker in this matchup is going to be if Colten Fritzlan rides Bubba G, assuming those other three guys get their bulls rode, I think the Thunder walk away victorious in night number 1 in Cheyenne, Wyoming. But let's take a break from this video for a couple seconds here, and let's talk about Rankrad Fantasy. If you like the team series and the draft portion of the team series, you're going to love Rankrad Fantasy. You get to put your general manager cap on and create your own team every week. Week in, week out, you can pick whoever you want as long as it's within the guidelines, the rules of the game. So if you want to take Jose Vitor Leme, have at her. You can have him any week. If you want to take a guy like Cooper Davis, Connor Halverson, you can take whoever you want. It's a fun way to engage yourself in the bull riding that weekend. I've played every week in 2022 for the individual season, and man, it's a blast. It makes it so much more fun when you have a guy you need to do well or a bull you need to do well, and vice versa. If a guy you don't have on your team does really well, it just makes it for more exciting. Play with your buddies, get a little group going, some side betting going on there, bragging rights. That's why people like to compete, is they like to say, well, I'm better than you. I beat you at that or on that day. It's a great time. I can promise you will not be disappointed. You can find them at www.rankradfantasy.com. And I will link their social medias in the description below and at the end of this video. But let's get back to it. With the second game of the night, the Nashville Stampede are going to take on the Carolina Cowboys. Let's look at the lineup for the Nashville Stampede. Joao Lucas on blunt force trauma. This bull got rode twice this spring by righties. One of those was by Kaique Pacheco, I believe. This is a bull that should fit Joao Lucas. He's a big, scary looking thing, big old horns, but looks really nice for right-handed riders. I definitely expect Joao to get the job done on this one. Kaique Pacheco taking on High Country Hitman. So I did a little digging on this bull too, and this bull made pretty short work of John Crimber, son of Arizona Ridge Rider head coach or co-coach, Paulo Crimber. And this is a bull that I expect Kaique to ride, and he could be a pile of points on this one. This bull doesn't have a big track record, but from what I've seen of him, he looks like the real deal. He looks like a bucking bull. I expect Kaique to get along with this one and push that 90-point barrier, in my opinion. Fernando Novaes versus Experiment 626. Another favorable matchup, in my opinion, for the Stampede. This bull should go into Novaes' hand. And when we talk about Brazilian bull riders, they're always really tough into their hand, and you do not expect them to buck off many bulls that are going to go into their hand. And I expect that from Novaes. So if things go right, the Nashville Stampede could really put some pressure on the Cowboys if they start with 3 consecutive qualified rides. Thiago Salgado versus Cowboy Cool. This bull won't be a day off for Salgado. He got rode for 88 points at the World Finals by Eduardo Aparecido. This is not going to be a day off. Salgado is capable of riding this bull, but like I said, it will not be easy. I'm going to give the nod to the bull in this situation just because we haven't seen a ton of Thiago. He was hurt in 2022 during the individual season. He's been getting on bulls this spring or in summer, I should say, but we haven't seen a ton of them at this level. It could take him some time to get back up to speed, and this isn't the easiest one to catch back up on, in my opinion. And rounding out the Nashville Stampede starting lineup, we have Ryan Dirt Eater versus Twisted Feather. Blake Sharp, Bucking Bull. Interesting matchup. Ryan Dirt Eater comes out of retirement for the team series. I don't know much about this bull. I tried to find as much as I could on him. Kind of tough to find much on him. Interesting matchup. It's kind of tough to call, in my opinion, without knowing much about the bull. And honestly, we haven't seen Ryan get on a ton of bulls yet either. He's probably going to take a little bit of time to catch back up to speed, get that timing down. Moving on to the Carolina Cowboys starting lineup. Their first matchup of the night, Dalen Swearingen versus Lil 2 Train. Swearingen bucked off this bull at the World Finals. You know he's going to want revenge. This is not going to be a day off, though. I feel like this bull gets put into a group of he's a slam dunk for left-handed riders, and he should fit a lot of the high-level lefties. This bull's not a lock to stay hooked up to the left, and he's going to have a little bit of forward movement. Dalen definitely can ride this bull. I'm not saying he's not going to ride him, but it's not as easy as I think a lot of people assume that it is based on this bull's track record. Nonetheless, I'm going to give the nod to Dalen. I think he could push that 90-point threshold with this matchup. Boudreaux Campbell versus The Undertaker. This is a tough matchup. This bull doesn't get rode very much. Boudreaux's definitely capable of riding this bull, but I'm going to give the edge to the bull. This is a tough one to twist. And when you draw one like this, somebody's got to get on him. So you can't blame the team for putting Boudreaux with him, but I'm sure Boudreaux would have liked a couple different bulls in this particular set of 5. Mason Taylor versus Slim Shady. I couldn't find much on this bull. The most that I found is he's 3-0 in the PBR. Doesn't really matter to me what the bull does. Mason Taylor is capable of riding all of them. So I'm going to give the edge to Mason in this situation, but without knowing much about the bull, it is tough to make an educated decision. Wingson Da Silva versus Juju. This is a really interesting matchup. This bull should go into Wingson's hand. This is a big step up for this guy. This was a free agent pickup, and they're putting him on what I would consider probably the pick of this pen. You could have put Mason Taylor on him, who's also a righty, but they chose to put Mason on a lesser-known bull. This is a big test for Da Silva. If he rides this bull, you could definitely see him cement his spot in that starting lineup for the foreseeable future. I'm excited to see how this matchup turns out on Monday night. And rounding out the starting lineup, Ramon de Lima versus Falconetti. This bull is 7-0 at the UTB level. Same scenario for Ramon, though. If they go into his hand, this guy's going to ride him. So we'll see what happens with that. I honestly don't know much about this bull. I've seen him before. I just couldn't find many videos on him. And so I'm not sure which way he goes. But like I said, if he goes to the left, Ramon's going to ride him without a question. So after breaking down all those rides, I had it at 3-3. And my projected winner for this matchup is going to be the Carolina Cowboys, just based on scores. They drew a little deeper, in my opinion, as far as getting some big time scores. So I'm going to give the edge on a per head basis to the Cowboys, and they're going to start their season 1-0. Moving on to the third game of the night, you have the Kansas City Outlaws taking on the Oklahoma Freedom. Let's take a look at that Kansas City starting lineup with the matchups. Marcus Mast on safety meeting. This is a dream draw for any left-handed bull rider, which Marcus Mast is. And in my opinion, they're putting a lot of faith in him. I might have looked at putting Bob Mitchell on this bull. He's been on that bull before, but who am I to judge? If they really trust Marcus Mast, he's been riding pretty good in this preseason. I know he's lost some weight. He's in really good shape. If Marcus Mast rides this bull, I think that really shows you that he is ready to step it up a level, and he's ready to be a main guy in this team series for the Kansas City Outlaws. Bob Mitchell versus Lil Hot. This is not going to be a day off. This bull doesn't get rode a whole lot. I like Bob Mitchell. He's got a lot of grit and try, and he definitely can ride some pretty ranked bulls, but this is going to be a task for him, no doubt about it. Tate Pohlmeyer versus Cherry Bomb. This bull should go into Tate's hand, but this is going to be a big test for this young guy. This is going to be a big step up in competition on the bull end of it. We're going to find out what Tate Pohlmeyer's made of. If he rides this one, he can definitely push the 90-point threshold, but it's going to take a big-time effort, in my opinion. Rafael Dos Santos versus Breadbasket. Dos Santos rode this bull in Tulsa, Oklahoma back in April for 91.25 points. I expect the same result. This is a bull that right-handed bull riders should really like, and Rafael is a right-handed bull rider, so I expect him to push that 90-point threshold with this matchup. And their final matchup, Dalton Castle versus Black and Blue. This is not an easy bull to ride. He doesn't get rode a whole lot. I believe Kayeke Pacheco's rode him, but he's got a really bad hair trigger in the buck and shoot. He doesn't always get out of the chute cleanly. This is JW Hart telling you that Dalton Castle, you are going to be our Dragon Slayer. You're going to be the guy that has to get on these kind of bulls, and we need you to convert. And there's not a better guy in this team series to put that pressure on, because that's when Dalton Castle really thrives. He craves situations like that. This could be a big time moment for Dalton Castle on Monday night in Cheyenne, Wyoming. Moving over to the Oklahoma Freedom starting lineup, Eli Bassbinder versus Medicine Man was 92.75 on this bull at the 2021 PBR finals. I expect the same result. I think Eli Bassbinder eats this bull up and is probably going to push that 90-point threshold. Derek Kolbaba versus Cold Shot. Derek's also rode this bull for 88 points back in 2021. This bull's not going to be a day off. He looks like he's gotten a little harder to ride since Derek rode him. Now, Derek still should ride this bull. He should go into Derek's hand, but it is not going to be a day off. Not going to be a gimme, but I am backing Kolbaba in this matchup. I think he gets the job done. Chase Outlaw versus Cast No Stones. There's not a lot on this bull, but I do know he got marked 45 points at the days of 47 this year. This is just me trusting Chase Outlaw. I know he's probably going to have some rust. He's gotten on a few bulls. He's ridden a few bulls. I'm just trusting the Outlaw. This is a guy that's a big X factor for the Oklahoma Freedom. If he converts at the level of the old Chase Outlaw, where he was a top 10 guy year in, year out, they got themselves a steal. And I think that road starts Monday night in Cheyenne when Chase Outlaw suits up for the Oklahoma Freedom. Casey Roberts versus Gangster Time. So they're pulling the 2022 college national champ, and they're throwing him right in the starting lineup. Don't know a ton about this bull. I know I've seen him before. It's just been a while, and I can't remember what he does. I do know this Casey Roberts is on fire right now. He's been getting a lot of bulls rode this summer. I'm intrigued to see what he does in the starting lineup for the Oklahoma Freedom. And rounding out their starting lineup, Trevor Kastner versus Magic Carpet. This bull's 6-1 at the UTB level. This is going to take a big time effort from Trevor Kastner, but the 6-time NFR qualifier, he's up for the task. I'm going to give a slight advantage to the bull, but if Kastner gets this one rode, I'm not going to be shocked. With my official prediction, with a score of 3-2. I'm going to give the edge to the Oklahoma Freedom. I just think their lineup's a little easier for me to trust than the Kansas City Outlaws. Now, if Marcus Mask goes out there and stomps safety meeting, yeah, that's gonna give them a leg up. Or if Tate Pohlmeyer rides cherry bomb, that could change the outcome of this game. The Oklahoma Freedom matched up their known reliable guys with bulls that should fit them. Their top two picks in Cole Baba and Vastbinder. Give kind of a wild card to Chase Outlaw, and then you're banking on your free agent guys here to step up and get the W for you. I think Oklahoma walks away with the victory on Monday night. And with the fourth and final game of the night, Monday in Cheyenne, the Arizona Ridge Riders take on the Austin Gamblers. The Arizona Ridge Riders lineup starts with Alisson De Souza versus Cold Chill. This is a Page bull that I think Alisson's going to get along with, should be into his hand, and this guy's just not going to buck off very many of them into his hand. Should be in that upper 80s, in my opinion. You come down to Marco Gucci versus Surprise Package, just as a burger bull. Should go into Marco's hand, and he didn't have a great 2022 individual season. Let's not sugarcoat it. But I think Marco can get the train back on the tracks here in this team series by getting on bulls like this one. This bull should fit Marco, and he should be in that mid to upper 80s on him. Eduardo Aparecido versus Backjack. Eduardo's rode this bull before, but this is not a locked and loaded thing. He's going to have to be ready for that direction change. This little brindle muley, he likes to turn back the other way at about 5 or 6 seconds. So at Fast Eddie needs to be on his toes and be ready for that direction change. Sandro Batista versus Cool Whip. Now, this is a bull. When I first started seeing him earlier this spring and winter, I thought this is a bull of the year type bull. Big bull. He is a giant. He is a big boy. He can buck, though. He's athletic. Had a couple weaker outs towards the end of this spring that kind of took him out of contention for that bull of the year race. But I did see him buck at a rodeo in Belfouche, South Dakota, and he looked pretty dang good there. He should go into Sandro's hand. Just a big test for this guy. I don't know that much about him. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt as a Brazilian. He can ride him going into his hand, but this one's going to be a big, strong one that means it when he hits that corner. But if Batista does ride him, that could completely change the outlook on this matchup and definitely give them a leg up. And the final Ridge Rider matchup of the evening, Luciano de Castro versus Bentley. This bull should be into his hand and with some gas. This is a bull that left-handed bull riders, the high-level guys, should really like. I expect Luciano to eat this bull up and be right around that 88 to 90-point range on him. Moving over to the Austin Gamblers lineup, Connor Halverson versus Dagger. Connor's bucked off this bull before, but this is a little bitty bull that's going to have a lot of gas into Connor's hand. I'm going to bank on that the Connor Halverson that we know shows up and rides this bull for, upper 80s, mid to upper 80s. I just think this is a good matchup for Connor. Lucas Davino versus Alakazam. This bull's not a day off, but Lucas Davino isn't a slouch either. So if he rides this one, you're looking at a score that's going to be pushing 90, if not more than that. This is a really good bull from the Page family. Austin Richardson versus Hell Right. This is another bull from the Page family I don't know much about, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. They come from the Page Ranch. The bull is going to do his deal. Austin Richardson being their second round pick, they're definitely expecting him to step up and kind of lead this squad along with Jose Vitor Leme to the title in November. So I know they're going to put him on bulls that buck, and we could see a big time score from Austin Richardson, no doubt about it. Ezekiel Mitchell versus the Sauce. This is a bull from Blake Sharp. This is not going to be a day off for Zeke, but Zeke's capable of riding this bull. And I think Zeke not getting drafted and all that, being a free agent, you're going to see a remotivated, a pumped up Ezekiel Mitchell for this team deal. He's getting the start right off the bat. And I expect Zeke to show up in Cheyenne, ready to show what he's capable of. And they round it out with the two-time world champ, Jose Vitor Leme versus the Right Stuff. He's rode this bull before. I expect him to do it again and be that 90-plus score range on this bull. I'm just not going to bet against Jose Vitor Leme. I'm just not going to do it. I think Jose rides this one and is in that lower 90 range, 90 points to like 92, give or take. And with my official prediction for this matchup, even though the Ridge Riders were lower than these guys in the power rankings that I put in this video, I'm giving the edge to the Arizona Ridge Riders just because of the matchups. I think it's realistic that they could potentially ride all 5 of their bulls, but I do think even if they don't, they've got a strong chance to ride 4. They got a lot of bulls that fit their bull riders well. I mean, you look at outside of Batista versus Cool Whip, those are bulls that I fully expect these guys to ride, and I would put money on it if I could. So when you look at the matchups versus what the gamblers have, I feel like they drew a little bit tougher set of bulls to match up with their guys. I'm going to call the upset. The Arizona Ridge Riders are going to start their season 1-0 on Monday night. Next, we're going to have our Playing for Keeps game of the week. Now, I don't have any info on this matchup because we don't have the bull list set. This is a second day matchup, but the Austin Gamblers are going to take on the Oklahoma Freedom on Tuesday night. You've got 2 heavy hitters in terms of what I think potential championship caliber teams are. The Austin Gamblers, Oklahoma Freedom. I'm excited to see these 2 duke it out on Tuesday night in Cheyenne. And the Put Me in Coach Rider of the Week. This is not a guy that's a week in, week out starter or somebody that they're really just expecting to be in their lineup every week. This is a guy that maybe on the free agent market, maybe that 7th guy on the protected roster that you're not going to see a ton of in this team series. That's what this segment's for. And this week, the Put Me in Coach Rider of the Week is going to be Trevor Kastner. I'm excited to see what this guy does. 6 times to the NFR. He's a veteran of the sport. And I kind of projected that he would be a guy they're going to lean on early on in this season, especially until Jess Lockwood comes back. They're putting him in the lineup. He's got a tough draw on Monday night, but I'm excited to see what Trevor Kastner does for the Oklahoma Freedom in this team series. But I think that'll be about it for today. I think we've gotten through about everything I wanted to before we crack the latch in Cheyenne, Wyoming on Monday night. It's going to be an exciting couple nights of bull riding at the Dad. I'm definitely excited to see how these teams react and see the actual starting lineups. You know, we've seen the preseason, but a lot of the teams held out their big guns in those games, and they're not going to pull any punches now. It's regular season bull riding. We are going to see the best of the best on each individual team. Let me know what you think of the picks that I made or the decisions that these teams have made in the comments below. Don't be afraid to like the video and give our channel a subscribe and ring the bell for notifications. It does nothing but help our channel grow, guys. But thanks for tuning in. Until next time, you guys have a great one. Come back and visit us again from the back pins.